I would like to remember a Walter Magditch. He was a resident of Metuchen for since 1957. He served on the school board for 12 years and as Metuchen's Recreation Commissioner. He also volunteered as part of the Edgar School Technical Enrichment Program. He participated in the Metuchen Citizens Police Academy. He was 85. So I'd like to take a moment to remember him today.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Katie, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Councilman Wallace is absent. Councilwoman Rasmussen.
Here.
Councilwoman Insero.
Here.
Councilman Grazel.
Here.
Councilman Camerano will be here shortly.
Right.
Council President Muldoon.
Here. I move that we open the agenda session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, are there any items?
I have nothing.
Anyone else? Could I have a motion to close?
I move that we close the agenda session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We now have a discussion of the downtown of Metuchen. I have a few remarks, and then Council President has a few remarks, and we will open it to the public. Metuchen's downtown is at a crossroads. Over the last 6 years, we have simplified the process for opening a business, reducing time, costs, and making application easier, speedier, and less costly. A good example of that is the Breeze Restaurant. It moved from one section of the downtown to another with just by filing a zoning application. The bicycle shop, which had sat vacant for 8 to 10 years, is now nearing completion. The parking authority has contracts on the Pearl Street lot with the developer Woodmont Industries, and is coming to the planning board sometime in April for its site plan approvals. This property will include a parking structure, residences, and a town center green or piazza, which is being funded through the county open space. We are working with the District of Metuchen and its owner, and he is in the process of negotiating with an anchor grocery store. Last week, we saw the approval by our zoning board of the Metuchen Investors application, a development which will clean up the hillside and in-place areas and provide 19 high-end apartments, 1 block from the train station. A zoning permit has been filed for filling part of the McPherson building next to Friendly's by a group of doctors. And another application, I understand, is on its way for a prosthesis firm to fill the other half. An application for the renovation and repurposing of the Blockbuster building has been filed and will be heard by the TRC sometime in April. A parking study, which is in its process, held by an independent agency, is nearly completed. This study was paid for by the Parking Authority and will help in deciding the appropriate amounts of parking needed in the downtown area. A month ago, we had a meeting a very productive meeting, I might add, with the chairs and vice chairs from the Zoning, Planning, Development, and the Chamber of Commerce, with our engineer and planner. Areas of height, parking requirements, and building usage were all discussed. In fact, one member came out and said this is the best meeting and planning that he has attended, and he's a member of the zoning board for a number of years. Recommendations will be coming forth shortly with changes to the master plan and ordinances affecting these areas. All of these mentioned items have put a new emphasis on garnering support and visitors to our downtown, and to support the existing and draw new businesses to that downtown. Council, I'm going to turn the program over now to Councilman Muldoon, who will speak about where we should be looking to go in supporting our downtown.
Thank you, Mayor. Like many of you, my wife and I were drawn to Metuchen to a large degree because of its quaint, cute, whatever you want to call it, very walkable downtown. Having a downtown was something that was important to us when we were trying to decide where to live, and it was a big factor in moving to Metuchen. But also, like many of you, we want a better Main Street and a better downtown. To some degree, having lived here 35 years, you kind of see the ebbs and flows of a lot of times it's reflective of the economy. But Main Street continues to struggle to some degree when it really should be thriving. When you think about what we have and the potential there, we should have the best, coolest downtown in all of central New Jersey, because there's no place like Metuchen. And we can make it, we can achieve that. As the mayor said, there are several significant developments coming. The Pearl Street, the district, and some of the other properties that have been unfinished, there seems to be a change and things are coming. But the benefits from those developments are still several years out. Pearl Street's going to take a couple years to fully build and occupy. And these developments are not going to be physically on Main Street, so there is some concern by some people that, when those other things open up, that it might possibly, I'm not saying it will, but this is a concern that we've heard, that it may, Main Street might decline further because of those other retail space. So, the time has come now for the mayor and council, I think, to address how do we improve our downtown. There's a lot of energy and enthusiasm evident by many of you being here tonight. Which is great. I think that's, I have a sense that people are coming together and are looking to move our Main Street and our downtown to the next level. Because clearly, if we keep doing what we've been doing, we're going to get the same result. I firmly believe that Main Street won't improve by itself. We need to realize that Metuchen, we are in a competitive environment. We're competing for business investment. We're competing for new residents and shoppers. People have lots of choices, especially in New Jersey, as to where they can invest, where they can live, and where they can shop. So I think we need to step up our game in order to make our downtown better. And I think many of you agree, and that's sort of why you're here. So there are 4 areas that I think we need to focus on. These are maybe more short-term type things to improve the viability of our downtown district and to help businesses locate and succeed here. And those 4 things are reduce the number of vacant stores that we have in town, proactively attract and recruit new businesses, improve the mix or the type of businesses that we have on Main Street. We have a lot of sort of complaints that I don't want to see one more nail salon or one more pizzeria and things like that. So I think it's evident that we should have a healthier mix of businesses in our downtown, and ways to attract more shoppers and visitors to Metuchen. So those are, from my perspective, 4 sort of immediate goals that I think we can work towards. But how do you achieve that? How do you work towards improving those things? Clearly, I think there has to be a proactive marketing of Metuchen. I've had some conversations. I've talked to many people, but talking to Chris Crane, who runs the Criterion, he had a great idea about, or has talked to me about, ways that we can proactively market Metuchen. I think a lot of people, our town is small and charming, and some people like it because it's sort of, sort of an old-time town, which is all true. But I think if we're trying to attract businesses, we have to just be more proactive and kind of beat the drum and bang our chests about how great Metuchen is. So proactively marketing Metuchen, identifying the types of businesses and retailers that we want to locate in Metuchen, but also be cognizant of the fact that they have to be businesses that will fit into or be accommodated in the buildings that we have. So not every business that someone might think of really could locate in Metuchen or would want to locate here, but there are plenty of businesses that I think if they knew how great our town was, would maybe think about coming here. So that's, outreach to retailers, restaurants, professional services kind of companies. And hopefully it would eventually, we'll have a nice mix of mom and pop. It's part of our charm is we have a lot of mom and pop businesses. But I think the most vibrant downtowns have a good mix of mom and pop businesses, national brands, including franchise businesses. I think we have to open our minds to think about what kind of mix we could have there. And then obviously there's a need to have these ongoing promotional activities and support of our businesses. So how do we go about doing this? Here comes the hard part. So many people have suggested that Metuchen create what's called a business improvement district or a special improvement district. I'm just going to use the word BID, which is business improvement district. Those two terms are pretty synonymous. So many towns in New Jersey have created bids to improve their business districts and make them more competitive. Cranford, Westfield, Highland Park, Morristown are some that come to mind. And a lot of people say, well, why can't we be like them? Well, and there's lots of factors, but one is they have a business improvement district. And where the property owners within that designated district, they pay a mandatory assessment or a tax to pay for the improvements and maintenance within that district. And it also pays for business development, and it pays for marketing of the district or the stores in there. But forming a bid requires widespread consensus among property owners and businesses who are in the district. They need to be fully informed, and they need to want to create a bid. At this time, I don't think we have that level of interest and understanding and consensus among our business community to take that step right now. When you create a bid, the governing body, the Borough Council, will create an ordinance to allow that to happen, which facilitates the assessment of the fee and the tax. But as a Borough Council, probably the most foolish thing we could do right now would be to deem we're going to have a bid, and because if we do that, it's not going to happen. So I think the council is very interested and willing to continue to talk and pursue a bid concept, but only at the time when we really have direction from the business community that this is where they want to move to. So again, ultimately, that might be where we go, but at this point in time, that's not our next step. Because a bid will not succeed without the active support of businesses and property owners. And Councilwoman Sarah and I, we've talked with downtown manager in Cranford, and I think you spoke with the manager in Highland Park, right? So we continue to kind of do research. The Development Commission, I think, has done some analysis of different bids in New Jersey. So there's interest there, but I think the fundamental thing is we have to know that our businesses want that, and that doesn't exist today. So at this point, I think a good next step is for the borough to explore hiring a downtown retail business consultant who could perform a needs assessment of downtown Metuchen, and then make specific recommendations to us for improving our main street. And some of those things that might be looked at in this project would be, business recruitment and retention. Ways that we can do that. Again, the marketing and promotion of downtown Metuchen and our businesses. Things like streetscape, signage, and facade improvements. They would pretty much almost create like a commercial district plan of action. So if we hire a consultant, and there are groups, there's Downtown New Jersey, there's Main Street New Jersey, and there are independent business development consultants who do this type of work. So I think that's something that we should pursue as our next step. And I think we might be able to follow a great process that I saw when I was working with the Parking Authority on the Pearl Street project. The Parking Authority hired a retail expert who gave great advice and direction to the Parking Authority when the Parking Authority was initially trying to determine what should the RFP be like for the developers, what might be attractive to developers. So we got information about office spaces. It would be a no-no because it's going to take about 15 years for New Jersey to fill up all the vacant office space. So my point in saying that is that I saw the value of having an expert in real estate, the benefit that it paid to the parking authority as we worked on Pearl Street. I think we can get similar direction, and it will help us, solve, quantify things. There'll be a lot of assessment that we've done, because there are, people who say the rents are so high, they're too high. Well, do we know that? We need some actual facts to see how does Metuchen compare with similar towns. Things like, there's no place to park. The mayor mentioned a parking management plan that's soon to be finished. That's going to help answer that question definitively. So I think if we could hire someone that could work with us to come up with his district plan, commercial district plan of action, that would be a good first step. And then I think the consultant, I'd like to see he or she work with a task force that we could create that would be made up of business owners, some landlords, some Chamber of Commerce members, Development Commission members, hopefully some of you sitting here in this audience tonight, interested residents, Borough Council, Planning Board people, Arts Council, Historic Preservation. So get a cross-section of people from Metuchen who care about our downtown and have an interest in seeing it move to the next level. And then who knows, after we look at what the recommendations would be, this task force could become a working group that would then, try to work with other groups to implement the recommendations. And I think it would take about, once we hire someone, it would probably take about 2 months for the assessment and the analysis to be done, so we could get back to, come back to the mayor and council pretty quickly and the public with findings, and then some recommendations that hopefully we can move forward to once we have a better focus and plan of action. So I think that's all I wanted to share right now. Did you want to, were you going to say something?
Yeah, whatever.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. No, I mean, I think it's important we touch on some of those points. I think from a governing body perspective, we need to determine how it is and what kind of involvement we're going to have in this. Very often with economic development throughout the state, you will see other entities engaged, other public entities. Some towns have economic development authorities or commissions. Parking authorities are frequently used as a conduit to help move this stuff forward. And we did that very successfully on the Pearl Street lot. We turned that over to the parking authority because we felt that was a better entity. And I think it's a discussion we need to have, and I'm not suggesting we do it tonight, but we need to enter into the discussion as to what kind of role do we want to play, and how much of a catalyst as a government body do we want to have. I think we all know the answer is as much as we can, but how do we do that, and how do we make sure we move forward in an efficient manner? You talk about a consultant. The consultant on Pearl Street was actually retained by the parking authority, right, and shared the information with us as we move forward. It seems to be a model that worked pretty well. I think it's something we need to talk about as we go forward. We may decide that's not the case, but it's worth engaging in that discussion to make sure we have involvement and an entity that can operate in an efficient manner and move us forward to get to where we want to be. So the question is really, what kind of role do we want to play, and what is the conduit to that role? And I think it's something we need to figure out as we move forward.
Any other council member want to speak? If not, I'm going to open it to the public. Okay, I'm going to open it to the public for any questions, comments, statements. If you come forward, just state your name and address, please.
Really, my address?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm Sharon Goldman. I live at 184 Highland Avenue in Metuchen. I should just go forth and chat? Okay. I've lived here for 4 years with my husband, and I can tell you that I moved here because of the downtown. My husband and I do not have children in the schools. We're here because of the walkable downtown and the train. So obviously that's of a lot of interest to us. I'm a local musician in town, some of you might know. I have a freelance writing business that I run out of my home. So I'm definitely invested in the downtown. And some of you might have noticed a few weeks ago a Facebook group that popped up. I sort of instigated that. It's a group of several hundred folks now that gather in this social media forum to discuss the revitalization, the vitalization of our beloved Little Metuchen, to discuss and share information, ask questions, complain. But I really just was the instigator of that, and that's why I don't really have anything formal to say here other than to just introduce why there's a whole bunch of people sitting here. It's because they were all informed about this meeting and wanted to address some of the stuff that has been coming up on the group. A lot of questions, a lot of mysterious scenarios that no one seems to know the answer about, and people just tend to talk out of their butts about. So I feel like everyone would like to, you know, somehow find some answers. I don't know whether it's a lack of communication between various groups or just things that are just meant to be kept more close to the vest. But we've done some little polling among our group, that some of which has been shared with you, some of which I think has just been sent to you, that I think just does show a level of a coalescence of interest in this topic. So I'm thinking that there might be a couple of other people that do want to say something more formal, but that's all I had to say, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Please just step forth, state your name and your address.
Steve Epstein, 310 East Chestnut. Mine, I guess, will be a little more formal. I actually have notes. And I'll just give a little bit of background. Current owner of Borough Ace Hardware, current chamber president, also served as president of the chamber in 2005 and 2006. Served as vice president, secretary, treasurer, chamber member for about 20 years, served on the development commission, grew up in Metuchen. Remember when Metuchen had a shoe store, clothes store, pet store, bike store, and all the rest. I was here. I worked in retail for the last 35 years. So as Sharon said, what you read on Facebook, social media in general, you have to take it with a grain of salt, so maybe I can lend a little perspective on some of the things that I've read, and hopefully this will lend a bit of a perspective as far as a retail business owner and also as chamber president. So from what I read this past weekend, this is a typical day for someone who lives in Metuchen. They have breakfast at the bagel pantry. They go to Haley's for lunch and a drink. Then in the afternoon, they go to What's the Scoop for a little ice cream, and perhaps Novita or Serrata for dinner. Then it's back to Haley's for more drinks. Now, there's no doubt people of Metuchen like to eat, drink, and get their nails done. However, I was a little disappointed that nobody mentioned they were going down to Boyd's to get their prescription filled. They weren't going to Seymour's to look at a new washer or dryer. They weren't going to Optique Unique to get a pair of eyeglasses. And dare I mention, a light bulb at Borough Ace Hardware. Now, I took a little time off Saturday afternoon, came back to my store at 3:30 in the afternoon, and unfortunately, the reality is there was not one car in the parking lot. So I just want to talk a little bit about reality and, you know, where we at with retail these days. And the bottom line is retail can be a little difficult in this day and age, and if nothing else, it's a little frustrating too. Gaining a little perspective on this past winter, I wish I had $1 for every person that came into the store and said, I've been to 5 or 6 places already, I can't believe you're the only one that has ice melt. And that's something we hear every day, and I heard it again today. Can you help me with this? Do you have this? And I would say, no, I don't have it. Well, I've already been to Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, Kmart, Target. I can't find it anywhere. Where could I find it? And that's very typical of today's consumer. The reality of small independent retail is that it's becoming a thing of the past, unfortunately. The malls, box stores, warehouses, and the internet have changed people's shopping habits. We are totally surrounded. Every week I have to make a decision to reorder something if it is still worth carrying, if there's enough demand. Yes, we used to have clothing stores, shoe stores, and all the others that I mentioned, and unfortunately, most of these businesses in this day and age are not a profitable reality, and I say profitable because I don't understand the fixation of blaming the landlords for closing a business, though. And let me just touch on that for a minute, because even today on Facebook, and this is a quote, somebody posted, "Can someone confirm Bulldog Deli is officially closed?" And there was a few responses, but then the person went on to say that assuming high rents are the reason. And quite frankly, I doubt the high rent, if it was a high rent, was the reason. I would say, well, what about the increasing food costs? What about the increasing payroll costs? What about insurance, utilities, garbage disposal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? All our expenses keep going up, and it's very difficult to raise prices because of competition. So especially a business like Bulldog Deli, who's been in business for years, I seriously doubt that the rent was a factor. How about they just had enough? I mean, it's very, very trying to be in retail, in the food business, deli business in particular. I don't know where they traveled from, but you got to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning, every day, 7 days a week. And trust me, I know about 7 days a week. So that's probably the number one reason why people close their businesses, especially older businesses, is that they just had enough, that they want to retire. And unfortunately, if I close my business, don't blame the landlord, because it's not going to be the case. Not that I'm closing my business. Let me make that clear. Okay, the other thing that I've seen, and again, I commend all the people. I commend Sharon, because Sharon is nothing but positive. That's all I've seen from Sharon is positive, enthusiastic, and she has a common goal, which I think we all share. And unfortunately, some people do tend to get negative, but that's just human nature. So the other thing, and now I'll cross over a little bit to put on my chamber hat, is I also didn't see much mention of the Chamber of Commerce. And someone actually wrote that no one does anything to promote our downtown. And I was a little taken back by that, because I actually think the farmers market, cruise nights, Junebug, the fairs, and parades do promote our downtown. The sad part is most people in town take these events for granted. Junebug was very close to going away last year. In fact, we were within days of canceling the event. And fortunately, some people through the chamber stepped up and volunteered, and the event went on. But we can only do so much. We're all volunteers. We have one paid executive director, 2 part-timers who work very few hours, and we all have other jobs and businesses to run and can only devote so much time to the chamber. We have a very limited budget because we receive limited support. And I'll touch on what Councilman Muldoon said about a bid, is that we have a very difficult time getting people to pay $280 for a general membership, more or less an assessment. So I took a little survey last fall, and Main Street between Middlesex and the train station, I counted 57 downstairs businesses, not talking about anything upstairs, 57 businesses, and only 25 of them were chamber members. 25 of 57, that's 44%. Recently, we sent out over 500 personalized letters trying to recruit family members. After, they've been going out for about the last 2 weeks, 500 letters, we've received 6 responses. 2 of them are my good friends. One is a board member, and the other 3, I thank you for your support. And I encourage others, if you want these events to continue, you have to help support us. We generate lots of ideas, but it takes people and resources to make these ideals a reality. We currently issue a small window sticker to chamber members, but I want to create a larger poster so everyone will know what businesses support our community as a whole and events. We all want what's best for Metuchen, so please join, please volunteer, and if we all work together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Epstein. Any other member?
Sharon Taylor, 109 Maple Avenue. Nice to meet you, Sharon. I'm one of the Facebook posters, and I thank you all for having this meeting and for Sharon for starting it up. I have lived here 16 years. My girls have been through the school system. They're about to graduate this year, and this conversation has been going on for the whole 16 years that I've been here. We've been talking about the supermarket, we've been talking about how to bring people to the town, and I mean, we seem to get a lot of people moving in, but we don't seem to be able to find businesses to move in, or I should say, businesses that me, for instance, would like to shop at. I do frequent Metuchen a lot. I try to support everybody, all the stores. Marafiki is a fantastic store. I get my prescriptions at Boyd Drugs. I go to all the restaurants, but there are a lot of places in town that I have no interest to go to, and I do not want to spend the money that they charge to go to them. So what I have said on Facebook is that I hope that you will look for affordable alternative stores, not these stores. I mean, I know that little stores generally cost, I think the Haley's guy said in an interview, it was 30% more. But people aren't going to pay that, and you know that because we've had so many stores come and go. So we have to, and I don't know how you do it, and I know it's a horrible task and a difficult one, but we have to get these stores in that are what people want at the price they want. I hate going to the mall. I can tell you, you can ask my kids, I do not go to the mall for anything unless I have to. And that's because I can't get it here. I am a huge supporter of Metuchen, love this town, everything about it. I think people know that. But I just want things that everyday people want to utilize at a good, decent price. So that's my charge to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just step forth and state your name and address.
Hi, Carissa Sestito, 541 Middlesex Ave. I just wanted to pose a question to the council based on this discussion. I was doing some research. It seems the gentleman that just spoke earlier didn't seem to think the landlords were the problem. And what Councilman Muldoon said about, getting the downtown assessment, I don't know what the issue is if the rents are too high. It seems to be the case that a lot of businesses are forced out after their first or second year because of the rents, but again, the assessment will have to prove that. I was wondering if Berkeley, California just put out an announcement about this. They started charging a vacancy tax, and that means that if landlords keep these properties vacant for more than 6 months or a year, the council, the municipality has the authority to impose a tax on them. And I think that will inspire them to maybe provide more affordable or competitive rates in comparison to Highland Park and areas surrounding this. So I was just wondering if the council had any comment about that.
Regarding the rates and rentals, there may not even be a way legally where we could charge or limit rentals on commercial properties. And if our attorney could answer that.
I mean, as for vacancy tax, I mean, in order for a municipality to charge tax, it would have to be authorized by the legislature. As I sit here right now, I'm not aware in New Jersey of any such authorization.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I was wondering if it was anything that had been.
I mean, I could check to see if there's any pending bills, but I'm aware of any. I'm not aware of any.
But I think the idea of trying to either incent landlords to rent these vacant properties or put some sort of disincentive for keeping it vacant is something we need to look at. So I agree with the mayor. We can't we can't set rates. We can't set
Oh, yeah,
rental. I mean,
like maybe,
Right, but, so I think, you know, I think we need to look into, are there any other options in this area of incenting them to do what I would think would do the right thing, which is to rent your vacant
right.
building.
And it would inspire them to actually do that and not, because I understand that there's some issue with the, you know, claiming a tax loss, and they don't really get penalized as much as keeping the storefronts empty, so.
Right, but I think who
Ma'am,
who
just
gets
speak
penalized.
into the
Oh,
mic.
I'm
though, 'cause
sorry.
I'm having difficulty
Yeah.
hearing you.
You're correct. I mean, if they have multiple buildings all over in various towns and states, when they do their taxes as a business, they probably, you know, take advantage of writing off on some. So, yeah, right, that works to their advantage, but to us in Metuchen, we're the ones being penalized by having this building vacant for
Absolutely.
years upon years upon years.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I mean, the vacancy tax, I think our attorney is correct. The state would have to authorize to do it, but it is something worth maybe exploring with our legislators, because there are other places that do it. New York City, I think, has a program. I'm not sure exactly how they structure it. And I have scratched my head many times and said, how can they keep that place vacant that long? And I don't have the answer, except that they have no incentive to fill it. So I know we can't do it now, but it may be something we want to bring to people's attention and try to move forward with, to give us another tool in the arsenal to fight back. And we can do that with a resolution calling on the legislature to do it or something like that, just to put it on their radar and say, this is what we care about. But, you know, we have to have more of a discussion if we want to go down that road, but I do think it's worth pursuing. I really do.
Anyone else from the public?
Tyrone Roeder, 16 Durham Avenue. I just want to disagree with one thing that Steve Epstein said, and that is it's hard to read through all the stuff on that Facebook group, but there have been a few distinct mentions of the chamber. And I think one thing that came out, and I think that that's an important thing about this group, is that there are misconceptions. And there are a few people that actually think that if you're a business in town, you have to belong to the chamber. You know, they don't really, we all know kind of a little bit more about how that works. And, you know, as I've talked to Nicole about, you know, building membership in the chamber is really important, but I think sometimes people don't understand that. And I think that's a really important thing to get out there. I know the chamber has tried as much as possible, but I think, you know, any way that we can put that out there. And I know there were several people that mentioned about the family membership on that group, and people, you know, decided that they were going to join. So hopefully you'll get an influx of mail from that. So anyway, as you can tell, I've lost my voice, but I wrote something quick and hopefully enthusiastic to read. Thank you for adding this topic to the agenda tonight. From listening to the Borough Council meetings over the last couple of years, I know this has been something you've been talking about, but it's great to hear it addressed more directly, particularly when there are so many citizens currently interested in ways to revitalize the downtown. The thing I would like to say is I think that with a concerted, coordinated effort, Metuchen does have great potential. The longer I live here, the more I realize how complex the mix is for what makes Metuchen so special. Some say that the foundation is the train, downtown, and great neighborhoods and schools. And I agree with that, but I also see a lot of other things that go into the mix to hold that foundation together. We have a wonderful municipal pool, senior center, public library with something for every age, a YMCA, growing arts scene, parks, playgrounds, religious institutions that are active beyond their spiritual services, the Greenway, the farmers market, parades, fairs, loads of historic architecture, garden clubs, civic and patriotic clubs, the Chamber of Commerce, which does so much of that, and so much of these are run and supported by volunteers who partner with the businesses or local government. These human resources are priceless and I think critical to our success and future. We have all the right elements. Perhaps we just need to use them a little better to our own advantage. The business environment has changed, like Mr. Epstein said, and so should we. Since I spend so much time looking back at historic photos and documents, I can say that our little Metuchen has been here before, never completely down and out, just at a bend in the road, and we've always come through fine. We had a rough spot right after the Civil War, yes, right after the Civil War, but bounced back thanks to able and loyal residents and business owners. Then the same thing happened when the era of the mall arrived. The town changed to more of a restaurant and service focus, and we're still a wonderful place to live. So can we survive some stalled developments and perhaps uncooperative landlords? Of course we can. To that end, I encourage the mayor and council to harness the rampant enthusiasm and fierce loyalty that we residents have with regard to the betterment of our borough. Let us have a clear direction in terms of downtown business development, enforcement of existing codes with regards to facades and sidewalks, and increase the safety of pedestrians and cyclists who visit our commercial establishments. As I like to say lately, this isn't rocket science, but even if it was, I think we have some rocket scientists around here. Onward and upward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Reuter.
Hey.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Jason Delia, 51 Talmadge Avenue. I'm here from the group, the Facebook group. When we heard that the council would be addressing the downtown issues during this session, we wanted to give the members of the Facebook group an opportunity to express their concerns and suggestions and come up with some questions. So we put together a little poll to do that. And prior to this meeting, I emailed the council and the mayor the results of that poll. As you might expect, the members of our group are quite opinionated, and they came up with very thoughtful questions, concerns, and suggestions for the council. I did my best to combine all those and summarize them into that document. I know I would assume the rest of the group would really appreciate if the council were able to take at least some of those questions, sort of respond to them in some way, either through me, which I can get back to the group, or it's a completely open Facebook group, so if you'd like to engage with the group directly, I know it would be very much appreciated.
I could just warn you from a legal standpoint, engaging in Facebook, you have to be very conscious of the Open Public Meetings Act. If the council acts on Facebook, I mean, with a quorum responding back and forth, it could be considered a meeting under the Open Public Meetings Act, and if there's not proper notice given, it could be, I mean, a violation of the Open Public Meetings Act. So I just have to warn you of that.
Right, same as on email, right?
Yes, same as on
But if we
email.
had, if one person on behalf of the council posted an answer to a question.
No, yeah, that's not a
and
problem.
what we can't have is
Well,
all the other
yeah,
council members.
yeah.
If one person is answering as themselves,
Yes.
but they can't answer as representing the council's view.
Yeah, because what happens is when the council, I'm sorry, the council acts as a body, and they are only permitted to act as an entire body. And if you are emailing all of the council, and the council is chiming in, and then a very good argument can be made that that constitutes a public meeting, which is required to be noticed just as this meeting is under the Open Public Meetings Act. And so you have to be very conscious of Facebook as well as, I mean, email back and forth when you're dealing with the entire council as a whole.
You know, we're not allowed to hit reply all if we're all on there, because that constitutes a meeting, so we have to be careful with this point.
What's the best way to get those questions addressed, I suppose?
Here.
Well, we have the questions, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll figure out an answer to that question.
Okay,
How
but
to get it back.
the reason being because a lot of the discussions of the group, they kind of keep on going over the same things over and over again.
Sure.
So if we had these questions that had come up, if we had answers to them, we'd be able to put them up in some sort of format, and whenever someone says, hey, how is this working with the tax?
We want to answer them, it's just, we have to be careful not to do it in
I understand.
a group-type message. So individually, or here, or just an individual email is fine.
Okay.
When did you send these questions?
Literally like 7 o'clock before this meeting started.
Oh,
Yeah, it's fine.
yeah, then we don't have them.
That's understandable.
But we can respond individually. As a group, we cannot.
All right,
I
thank you.
mean, one great thing that came out of the Facebook discussion is that it promoted interest in the topic, and it got people to come out to a meeting. And there's an enormous difference in the quality of a meeting and the ideas that come out when people come out to a meeting like all of you have done tonight. It's really a good venue to listen. Facebook's great, and it does a lot of good things, but I still think there's a lot of value in public meetings, and I think that's being demonstrated tonight by virtue of the fact, I think this is one of the first times since I've been on the council I've seen you come in and speak at a public meeting, and I think it's great. So I think you've made a good invitation, and maybe there's a way to participate in Facebook, but I think we're excited at the idea that Facebook has managed to get people to come out to a public meeting and engage the council. So I think that's probably one of the great accomplishments of the Facebook group. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President, you had something?
Did you want to ask Dennis something?
Yeah, I just want to clarify something with our attorney. So if I comment on an individual Facebook thread on this group as me, and we're not all jumping on there, that's okay. I've been commenting very sparingly on this group, but I just want to clarify that.
As long as the comment is coming from
From
you,
me, right,
as you.
my personal page.
Exactly.
Okay.
And everyone else is not included
Not
on
jumping
it.
on. I'm not
Exactly.
tagging them or anything like that. Okay,
Exactly.
good, all right.
And what I've actually been doing is I've been sending private messages to not put everything out there because I wasn't sure, so I figured if I individually private messaged a person who had a question, that I would be okay.
You just like it here, don't you?
I miss you all so much. Sherry Rose Rubin, 114 Spring Street. I felt compelled to come, and I didn't come here even for this purpose, but I know from my experience serving on the council as well as council liaison to the Chamber of Commerce and one of the original members of the Farmers Market Committee, this issue of downtown development is extremely complex. And I'm very excited to hear that the council is addressing it in such a formal way, and it's so nice to actually see residents in the audience on this topic. And I just wanted to remind the council, and in particular Councilman Muldoon, that a couple of years ago we spent some time researching the issue of a marketing director for the borough. And I just wanted to bring that up one more time because I think this is evidence of the extreme importance of having a person whose job it is designated specifically to market Metuchen. And I think we have relied far too long on volunteers to do that job. In fact, Tyrene does a calendar of events, periodically to tell everyone what's going on in Metuchen on a particular weekend, and she does that out of the goodness of her heart. I know the Chamber spends a lot of time marketing its events, but at times, I found myself at the farmer's market, which is actually right in the middle of town, and someone will come and say, oh, I didn't know there was a farmer's market. And, we find it ironic because it's literally in the middle of town, and still people don't know that it exists. And in this day and age with social media, and we see the response that Facebook has had on this issue, nothing exists if it's not marketed. And I think the time is perfect for us to find some funds, and I know how difficult that is. I did sit there during many budget discussions. It's very difficult, but I urge you to consider trying to find some funds to hire even a part-time person whose job it is specifically to market our town, and I think we'll see the benefit of those expenditures. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Good evening, Ed.
My name is Ed Calandra. I live at 5 Juniper Street, Metuchen. I've been here for 25 years. Many of you know my wife. She's at the Y. I really have two questions. One is, what would you think about putting together, let's call it, for lack of a better term, a subcommittee? Something whereby instead of us sitting on this side and you sitting on that side, imagine, if you will, if you had a number of volunteers like you have here, a smart guy like Steve, and a few smart people like yourself in a room with a whiteboard, what we might be able to accomplish. I think before you go out and start investing more money in consultants, there's a lot of brain power here. I think we call this the brainy borough. And I'm suggesting that with that kind, I'm a long-time IBM guy, and so I know how businesses work. I think that that may be an easy way for us to do two things. One, to try to come up with a solution, but more importantly, as we've heard tonight, there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of confusion. And if we could get together in a way that's, call it less formal, where we could share thoughts and ideas, I think that result would be incredibly valuable. Second question I have is, there's a lot of speculation about why people leave businesses here in town. We've heard rents, we've heard traffic, we've heard parking. I deal in facts. Has anyone ever asked anybody? Has anyone ever had an interview, what I used to call in business an exit interview, with someone who, when they're leaving, it says, do you know why? Can we find out some more information about why somebody's leaving? Was it because the rent was bad? Was it because the parking was bad? Rather than make a guess, wouldn't it be just as easy to talk to somebody when you find out that they're getting ready to leave and say, hey, excuse me, hate to see you go. Maybe there's a way we can keep them if there's something that we could do to make it better. So those are my 2 thoughts for the evening. Thank you for letting me.
Can I just make a comment on your first one, which is it's an excellent idea.
I'll volunteer,
I
too.
had a very
Tom knows.
similar idea. So one point, I mean, in my remarks earlier, I talked about the idea of possibly hiring this consultant to do this assessment and recommendations, and then work with this. It's the group that you're talking about, right? So, and my reason for thinking where we could get benefit from a consultant is the problems that we're dealing with are not unique to only Metuchen, right? Many other downtowns in New Jersey have had these issues or continue to have them, and we could gain insight from a consultant who has worked with, who's tackled this problem before. So if we had that insight and we're better focused on what our issues are, then your task force, your subcommittee can get to work. I think if we started with just the subcommittee, we'd still have sort of this, is this true? What about this? I think it's that. We need a little bit more definitive, and to your other point about stats and numbers, we need those before we can start taking action. So that's my thought of.
Can I respond to that?
Absolutely, yeah.
I will very respectfully disagree. I think that you can. I'm a consultant. I do it for a living, not in this. I'm an IT consultant. I get brought in for situations where people are trying to make decisions on technology. What I find more often than not is making those decisions or even doing that kind of work without having had the opportunity to talk to the people that are involved, whether it's the users of the technology or the people who pay for it. I'm suggesting, and I leave it open to the other people in the room to give feedback, but there is enough smart people that if you just took a handful from each of these 3 groups that are represented here today, let's call it the council, let's call it the group and from the Facebook group and the Chamber of Commerce, and you brought some small number of those people together. Before you hired someone, let's define the problem, because you're trying to define the problem with a consultant. And I can tell you, and hopefully someone will agree, that I don't think we've defined the problem. I think that if you talk to people who say, I don't want pizzerias and I don't want nail places, you know why they're there? You know why they're there? Because there's a demand for them. My wife has to get her nails done. She's got to wait 2 hours. Pizzerias, you don't just walk in and walk out with a pizza. So the point is there is a demand. There's a model there. And I'm only suggesting that before you invest, which is the key word, tax dollars at work, right? Before we invest, would it really hurt to bring some folks together and get opinions documented, both, not just from the folks from Facebook who are here as concerned citizens, but people like Steve who know the business end of this.
Well, I'll agree with you, because when you said help define the problem,
yes,
I think you're right on. I think that would be a good use of that group.
Great.
Because you're right. Maybe we would be having the consultant define the problem where we can define the problem.
Very good.
Okay.
Councilman,
Ed, I think that the model that we used with the parking authority, where we did have a consultant, but he also worked with a special group of individuals and residents from the town, worked out very well. I'm not saying just have a consultant. I'm saying combine both of them to help define.
I have no disagreement with you at all, Mr. Mayor. I'm only suggesting that in the interest of time, in the time it's going to take you to go find someone, and I'm sure you'll find a really qualified consultant, I think that in a very short period of time, if you found a room and 10 people that represented the 3 groups I've described, I think we could at least isolate it down to a number of problems rather than what I think it is today is wide open. So I leave that to you, gentlemen.
Hi, could I just respond to that, Sharon Taylor again? Again, I've lived here 16 years.
Please address your comments to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have lived here 16 years, and I have been to several of these meetings about town planning, what to do. I have walked around the town with Mayor O'Brien several times. We've had the senior citizens was opened up by Mayor O'Brien. We had the town planner, Jim Constantine, there going through what everybody wanted for the town. I mean, seriously, this has been spoken about, and I'm sure many of you council people have been on for a while, including you, Mayor. You must recall this. We have had several meetings about it. We do know what the town wants, and number one has always been a supermarket, because that was the biggest loss for this town, especially for me, and I'm sure other people. But I just want to say this has happened, so I don't know who's got the research. I mean, we have a town planner, right, who's on our books, so can we not utilize him more?
Yeah.
I mean, he used to be talking all the time about it. I used to come to the meetings and stuff. But I just wanted to let the gentleman know that we have done this in the past, so somewhere it should be the research. Thank
Mrs.
you.
Taylor, I agree with you. We recall having those charrettes down, I think there were 3 or 4 different evenings, days, and a Saturday with our planner, with various opportunities for the public to respond. And I think that the Pearl Street development is a direct result of that, and the way that it is being planned. And what will come forth from that is because of the community input into it. And if it means having our planner come out and do a charrette about this, I think that would be an excellent idea.
Thanks.
I just wanted to mention one more thing which came to mind, which I forgot to mention before. We talked about it at the last chamber meeting, something the chamber would like to offer to the mayor and council and also to the planning board and I guess the entire town, is that we thought of a possibility of, and I'm not going to use the word committee, I'll use the word panel. Anybody who puts a business application into the planning board, we would offer to get together with the chamber, members of the chamber, consumers, anyone who wished to attend, and listen to the proposed business and give them feedback. What do we think? Before you come into Metuchen and open your business, and we know if you're going to the planning board, you're serious about opening a business, if it's possible to, I hate to say, I'm not sure what the word would be, but to advise, to mentor, suggest what the people of Metuchen and what we're looking for. In other words, if you're going to open a restaurant, here's what we'd like to see. And some of it's obvious. We'd like to see good food, good service, good, you know. But some of it might not be obvious. And again, as someone who's been in Metuchen for all these years, there's a lot of people here who have good ideas. Maybe it would help that business succeed rather than open up blindly and go into it without having a clue what the people in Metuchen want. So if it's possible, that's something we talked about at the chamber meeting.
I think it's an excellent idea. I also related to Councilwoman Rasmussen, where we had a florist years ago who opened, was doing well, but then never realized how to pay his 941 taxes and ended up with a problem with the IRS. And I think having experienced business people mentoring and helping and advising a new business, as you're aware, very many new businesses close within 2 to 3 years. Part of that is because of the lack of business acumen and knowledge of how to run a business and what has to be done. And I think by having a mentor or having somebody there as an advisor, obviously this is going to be unpaid, so it's very attractive for a business to come in and say, you know, I think this might be something that could benefit me, even if it's a meeting periodically to advise and to work with them.
Nothing totally formal, and again, we're not charging anything. They have nothing to lose. And suggestions on anything, product, location, promotion, European marketing.
I agree, and I appreciate the Chamber's offer on that.
Mayor, may I ask Mr. Epstein a question? Did you read the interview that Ms. Goldman did with Chris Flynn of Haley's on Facebook about how he opened his business?
Which
Haley's? He's not here tonight, obviously.
I did not read it.
He's very busy.
You think so?
Anyway, Mr. Flynn did an interview with Sharon Goldman, and it's on Facebook, and it's great. And he talked about how he got the idea for Haley's, and he came into town to go shopping at the running store, and he asked, where can I go for a burger and a beer? I don't know if you all read this. And the answer was, nowhere. You have to go to the mall. And he said, that's crazy. But before he opened up his business, he did a demographic study. And so my question to you is, I'm just curious, do you know from anecdotes how many businesses in Metuchen actually do a demographic study or go to the lengths that he went to before he opened up his wildly successful business?
Well, that's probably part of the problem. I don't think enough do.
Right.
And again, I'm not trying to come off as arrogant or anything, but some of the businesses that I see open up, and I say to myself, like, what are they thinking, or what were they thinking? And I'm sorry, but I don't see them succeeding. So this is an opportunity for people like myself, people like Sharon, anybody else, Sharon, anybody else in this room, to speak quite frankly to them and not sugarcoat it and say, like, look, it's probably not a good idea, or that's a great idea, or, well, somebody tried that, it didn't work, or they did this. And so it's kind of like a real-world situation.
Right. I like your suggestion, and I want to thank Sharon for interviewing Chris as well, because that was a great story.
Anyone else from the public? Just state your name and address, please.
Thank you. I'm Len Roseman. I'm the chairman of the Parking Authority, and it's very encouraging for me to hear everyone speak to these issues. A lot of us have been struggling with them for a long time. I would also like to say that the mayor shows great optimism in the future. He recently appointed an 84-year-old member of his administration to a 5-year term. That's a real expression of optimism, and I thank you, Your Honor. Seriously, I think there have been some strong statements that really can be put together. I think there is serious interest in developing a citizens group that would look at this issue, and I think, to me, that would be a first step, and I think that group would be in the best position to define what kind of professional support you might need, whether it would be a general analysis, whether it would be retaining somebody who is qualified to act as a development individual who would work at it full time. Our experience with the Parking Authority was essentially one of gathering a group of citizens and finding out what we need in the way of expertise that would help us do a better job.
Excuse me, Mr. Roseman, is there a problem, Steph? I'm not trying to cut you off, believe me.
It ran out of battery.
But the battery's died.
Mr. Roseman, what the mayor didn't tell you is that's not your last term you were just appointed for. We expect you to get reappointed a couple more times.
That is correct.
That's all right. Fast meeting goes loud.
We need one at full battery. Can you run and get one?
If we have to, Mr. Len,
Why don't we have them use these?
you could use one of these up here.
Does that work?
Yeah, much better.
With my hearing, I'm not sure. The issue that I was trying to develop was the Parking Authority experience was to take our committee and meet, and then we started to understand the scope of what we were dealing with. And we realized that we didn't have certain insights as to the business nature of development. And that's why we went out and got somebody who was able to inform us and evaluate that. So based on that experience, I would suggest that you form such a committee, that this committee do its homework, take advantage of the wisdom of Steve Epstein that you just heard tonight, as good an analysis of what small business is up against as you'll hear anywhere. There are people in this country who would pay serious money to get your wisdom on those issues and not go into business in situations they shouldn't. I sat as chair of the zoning board once, and some guy came in with he wanted to have a one-car garage, and his lawyer was supporting his efforts. He was going to take all his money and put it into a business that was not going to be successful. So if you can bring somebody coming into town before your business group and give them some insights, it might be a very valuable service. I think the idea of getting facts together and getting comparative analysis of what's happening in other towns and other places is a valuable beginning. I don't think that would be I think that would be a very positive thing to do. And then you can decide whether we should invest our money in a survey or a professional in town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roseman. Anyone else?
Beatrice Moskowitz, 279 Middlesex Avenue. I have a question, Your Honor. In all the discussion about retail business downtown, I didn't hear any questions about industrial business. And I wonder how many people know that we do have an industrial park, because despite the fact that I like to think I know about so many things, I didn't discover it until people came to the council meeting trying to change the names of the streets in order to drive into that park, and then completely forgot about it and rediscovered it when I needed to get a very unusual medication, and the only place it was made was in Metuchen, of all places. I'm calling all over the world. Do we have any vacancies in that industrial park? And what publicity does that group use? Do you know that there is? Okay. What do they use if we don't have those vacancies that's so different from our Main Street?
I do know that we do have some vacancies there. I do also know that one of the buildings recently was before the planning board and was subdivided so that they could sell half of the building to one business and maintain the other half. And that was the Brazil Brothers, which was at the end of the cul-de-sac on Liberty. We also will have an ordinance coming up which will remap a part of the zone for the Criterion News, okay, so that his building will be all into the industrial area. Part of it's in residential, part of it's in industrial now. As for how many other openings there are, I do not know.
You don't know what they use for their own publicity, so to speak?
They market it themselves, I guess through other realtors, but I do not know. I know that we have a building that was approved by the planning board, which is a real nice building going up, which has been on a vacant piece of property, which has been a nuisance where people would dump stuff and everything else, and that's being done by Rich Mongelli, which is going to be a storage garage, but not necessarily for residents, but for businesses like electricians and plumbers and things like that, where they could have their garage, store their equipment, and instead of having an area that is just a vacant land, you know, doing a nice building. I think it's for 9 garages? Nine garages that will be used by, you know, light industry, electricians, plumbers, groups like that. But as for the other openings, I'm not sure.
I just had two other quick things to ask or comments. last week or the week before, I went to the Development Commission meeting, the last one that they held. And before I went to that meeting and before this Facebook group was started, I didn't know there was a Development Commission. And it turns out that there's 10 very smart people, citizens from the town, like Ed was speaking to. This already exists, basically, this task force. These are 10 people who have apparently been spending a couple of years on many of the topics that we've all been talking about in this group, but somehow it just seems like their findings or their efforts don't really seem to be communicated very well, because it all seems to be at cross purposes, even though everyone seems on the surface to be talking about the same things, the chamber, the council, and the development commission. Like Nelson Lee brought in some actual early data with red and green dots of what stores are vacant. And I know that they're working on talking to some of the landlords, but it's hard to tell actually how much of that is getting filtered to anybody else and whether any of that is going to be useful or used. And then just the other thing I would say to that end is Jason Delia we did come, we had a list of questions, we polled the group, and Jason put it together in a document that he sent to you right before this meeting, so obviously we weren't expecting answers to those questions at this meeting about, you know, all the mysterious stuff about the McPherson and the landlords and the this and the that. But if there, and I totally get that there are legal issues into how things need to be responded to, but if there were a way to either have an open public meeting where some of you do answer some questions, or some email communication to get those questions answered in some way, even if they're not like the answers that everyone wants to hear, it would be greatly appreciated. I think the whole group would benefit from that now and in the future also.
I think the most asked question I have received as mayor is, what's happening with the building next to Friendly's?
Yeah, what is happening with the building
and I
next to
could tell
Friendly's?
you this, and I mentioned it in my opening, that as of last week, a application for zoning was applied for a group of doctors to fill half of the building, and we are the first floor, and we are waiting for another application for a group that does prosthesis to do the other half of the building. Now, we have been trying to encourage the owner to fill that building and move on. When you look at some of the other buildings in town, for example, the building across the street that holds the bagel pantry, that started 3 years after the other building, and that building is done and, you know, filled and moving. If you look at the bicycle shop building, that was vacant for a number of years, and within the last 2 years, they got their approvals and are now actively finishing it and looking to fill that building. You know, sometimes it's just really difficult getting a landlord to finish and do something. But there is an application now, and we are anticipating another application. Our zoning officer told me that he had a call and was waiting for the other group to come in so that the first floor will be filled. Okay?
Maybe next we can do a poll of your most asked questions. That would be very interesting.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's probably like 5 or 6, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Your Honor, if I could just address the other issue. You're right. There are a lot of pieces out there that do exist. And even sometimes it doesn't trickle down to us from each other. And we had a discussion very recently about making sure we do a better job at coordinating the flow of information amongst ourselves and to the public. Because, you know, we move very fast. We all have 3 or 4 liaison meetings we do. Some nights we do meetings every night. So by the time you finish the week, you forget to actually update. So it is something we are going to make a greater effort. The mayor has talked about coordinating, having someone coordinate the very issues so that we can communicate what it is that we are doing and where it is amongst ourselves, but also to the public. So we are trying to address it. It is a shortfall. We know it. So.
Anyone else from the public with any question, comment? Please step forward.
Hello, I'm Grace Shackney. I live at 110 Columbia Avenue, And I just wanted to thank the Borough Council for putting this on the agenda, for inviting this group to come in, and for this wonderful civic discussion that we've had. I think if there is a tape of this meeting, it would make an excellent class in civics. It makes me very proud to be a member of this community and to be part of this whole process. And I think that you have a lot of support here, and that there are people who would come forward and volunteer and be part of the solutions, and I look forward to what will come. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public? Hearing none, I'm going to close that section of the meeting.
We have no proclamations or resolutions, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I move that communications consent agenda items A through I be accepted.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
This is a boring part of the meeting.
No, but, you have to stay.
We're at that point where we have reports from the officers. Council President?
Thank you, Mayor. I have two things. The Parking Authority meets tomorrow night at 7:30 at the Parking Authority building, and as we've mentioned earlier, the Parking Authority is finalizing a parking management plan that's been underway for several months, and I expect that we'll have the report accepted by the Commission at a future meeting, and perhaps have the consultant come to a Borough Council meeting on possibly May 5th with his report and recommendations. And I think the recommendations in the parking management plan tie very nicely into this whole discussion of downtown development. And parking's been one of those mysterious things. You know, we don't have any parking, and it's in the wrong place. You know, all these rumors about parking. So again, we've done some definitive analysis of parking. So we'll publicize that when he will come to the council meeting to talk about the parking management plan. The other thing is Historic Preservation Committee. The committee continues working with the Historic Preservation Consultant. This will be the fourth year. The committee's hired the consultant with grant money from Middlesex County and some money from the borough's budget. And the consultant's beginning the next phase of the Middlesex Avenue Woodwild Park Historic District. She's preparing a preliminary, non-binding application for listing the district on the state and national register of historic places. And the purpose of doing the preliminary, non-binding application is to just determine eligibility to be listed. So we'll get some feedback from the state office as to whether the district, and we're very confident it is, but whether it would be eligible for being listed on the historic register. The committee is also finalizing an informative brochure about the goals and the activities of the Historic Preservation Committee that was created in 2008, so that will be available soon. And mark your calendars, the 4th Annual Historic Preservation Scavenger Hunt will take place in May. Details will be available, but this is something we started 4 years ago that each year gets more and more popular, and people involved in doing a little scavenger hunt of historic and architecturally significant locations in Metuchen. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Wallace?
Thank you, Your Honor. The Recreation Commission met, and this is the time of the year where they assign fields for all the soccer and the different activities, and sometimes it's been a difficult meeting, but this went very well, and everybody's happy, and the fields have been assigned to the different clubs and everything the Metuchen Recreation deals with. So everything went very good there. We had a traffic and transportation meeting, and we continued to talk about different things on the pedestrian safety. The flags are here. We just have to get them put up. There's a couple more sections where they're going to be put, Main and Myrtle, I forget the other, Grove in by the temple, and I forget the other one. And everything's moving along pretty good. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Rasmussen?
Okay, I'm going to start with development. We're working or continuing to work on the business inventory that Nelson Lee is kind of spearheading. And at our last meeting, each member was taking a small area of town and getting information such as addresses, business hours, types of business, etc., so that Nelson can collate the data together. And hopefully we're trying to get a meeting with the mayor to review it and see if he has any further suggestions. And I would like to say when it is done, and I would like to offer it to any kind of group or task force and consultant that the borough may hire to do some research about what we need downtown, but that might be something very useful that they can use, and it would be something that maybe we would have to have paid for already, but we'll be doing it for free on our own. Also, the Development Commission submitted a year-end report electronically to the borough to summarize all of our activities for the previous year, including our agendas, minutes, and research on various development issues. And the Chamber of Commerce has their garage sale April 26th. Please check the website to see how you can sign up for it. And also the golf outing is May 5th. Also check with the website to see how you can get involved with that. And I also want to kind of discuss a little bit the mentoring program that Steve Epstein discussed. The Chamber is willing to offer a free year of Chamber membership to new businesses to get mentored by successful Metuchen business owner. So this would be a really important tool that we can use to help businesses become successful. You know, sometimes people think they can open a restaurant because, you know, grandma cooks great at home, but when they come to opening a restaurant, they're not sure volume-wise how much food, maybe they spoil food, they lose money that way. I should say maybe they're not sure how to do all their accounting properly, so they may need to get information how to do all of that properly so that they don't run into trouble with the IRS. And also, I do want to encourage everybody, please get a membership. Family membership is $75 for your family. You get $20 back and a gift certificate from the Chamber that you can use to purchase at a Chamber business. Just help to support their efforts and to help our businesses. It's very important. And also, I think it was mentioned at the Chamber meeting that once the Pearl Street project gets going, a member from the Chamber would like to attend the parking authority meetings to be able to keep up with parking changes and parking availability, I guess to maybe help the businesses if there's any questions or concerns.
We have a Chamber member on the parking authority.
You do?
Well, no, there is supposed to be no one. I've been liaison for.
Well, New Pearl Cleaners.
He's not representing.
It's not a designated.
He's not designated.
Okay.
His business is in the Chamber.
It's like a tradition, but we don't have a designated chamber seat.
But I think there's, too bad Len stepped out. I think the parking authority has an open seat for the Chamber person to come. There's never been anyone there directly from the Chamber, so you don't have to wait till you can come tomorrow.
Okay, so maybe
They
we
come
can make
tomorrow
that
night if they
happen,
want.
Nicole. Okay, this way, because we want to have open communication and make sure that all the businesses kind of know what's going on with parking and stuff. So. Okay. Also, something very exciting for the Shade Tree Commission and actually for everybody in town. The town will be getting 500 trees through the New Jersey Tree Recovery Campaign because of the loss of so many trees during Superstorm Sandy. We will be receiving April 15th, and we will be distributing the trees, I believe, on April 19th, right? That was the plan, from the Senior Center from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So we are going to begin advertising, so your social media people, if you want to put that, I can send you some information about how the trees will be distributed so you can get your people there. But basically the trees are going to come bare-rooted, meaning that they're going to have to be planted pretty quickly. They're going to be very small trees, probably the size of my pinky, so they're going to be very delicate trees. And we'll be helping you out with information about how to plant the trees, what kind of species you have, but more information will be forthcoming. And
Councilwoman, if I may?
Yes.
Do we know what types of trees we're getting?
Yes, I actually have a list of possible ones we can get. It doesn't mean that we will get every single species.
Will it be a variety, or is it just...
Oh, yes, yes, we're going to have a
They're all-
variety.
They're all deciduous. There's no pines.
Yeah, there won't be any evergreen trees. They'll all be deciduous trees. So, and I think it's going to be a great thing. And they will actually going to become bagged in brown paper bags, and they'll have to be kept moist, until you can plant them. But we'll have more specific information forthcoming. And
Excuse me, Councilman, but you have to take 5. They're in groups of 5.
You gotta take 5?
5. Okay.
even if you share them with your neighbor, like if not everybody wants to get 5, like you and a couple of your neighbors want to put some trees on your personal property, not necessarily in the borough right away. These are trees to plant on your property as you wish. So. And that's it.
Okay. Councilwoman Insera?
Thank you, Mayor. The Metuchen Youth Services Board met last week, and it's in a bit of a transition period as longtime volunteer and coordinator Irene Nan is stepping back after many years of service, and Sergeant Lee Antonio is helping out with some paperwork over the next few months. But look for news over the next month or two for our upcoming annual magic show, which raises funds for the board, as well as some other events, including a very exciting event for the high school, where they're having a very good speaker come in to talk to the kids about getting a natural high as opposed to the other kind. The seniors had a really fun St. Patrick's Day luncheon on Friday at noon that I was told was one of the best events ever at the Senior Center. The Board of Health is scheduled to meet next month. And tomorrow, I've been talking about this for a few weeks, tomorrow at 5 p.m. at the Senior Center, between 5 and 7:30, I don't know if the camera can see this flyer, it's the open house for the Middlesex Greenway Access Project. So stop in. It will only take you about 15 minutes to do the activities and give your thoughts on improving access to the Greenway, what you think the public health benefits should be, how you think it can tie into some of the things we talked about here tonight about marketing our downtown, as well as Edison and Metuchen. And one thing I learned about this project during one of our meetings is that this project will be used as the first health impact assessment in New Jersey that Rutgers is doing. And if you want to know what a health impact assessment is, it's a project that helps communities make informed choices about improving public health through community design. So I think it'll be really neat that this project is the first one done in New Jersey. And apparently I'm losing my voice as well. That's my report.
I think that's a number of us right
Going
now.
around.
And Councilwoman, I just want to say, I was so excited about going to it that I went to it last week, and no one was there. But I can't wait to go. I thought it was sooner, and I was excited about going, so I went already, but I'll go again.
Better than being a day late and a dollar short.
Okay.
Councilwoman, anything else?
That's it. That's
Okay,
my report.
thank you. Councilman Grazel?
Thank you, Mayor. As I approach my Arts Council report, I'd like to take a moment to note that for a nominal public investment of $5,000, which we allocate to the Arts Council each year, there's been no other group that's generated more traffic and more potential customers to the town of Metuchen than the arts community. Dramatic examples of this include Junebug, the Gallery Walk, the Garden Tour, the Summer Concert Series, the Jazz Fest, and many more. Every time our arts community holds these events, people from town and out of town come to Main Street and attend the events. So I know we all look forward to the arts community participating in the discussions for the renaissance of Metuchen downtown. I've already reported to the public on a new organization called Family Arts of Metuchen, which is a group of local residents that offer young children and families the opportunity to get together at the old Franklin Schoolhouse and enjoy music, drama, and dance. There have already been 3 well-attended programs. The final concert will take place on Sunday, March 23rd, 4 p.m. at the old Franklin Schoolhouse. The featured performer will be Yossi, a well-known and popular composer and performer of children's songs. Tickets are on sale at the door on Sunday for $3 each. Come out and make sure to get your tickets. The Community Mural Project, which we have discussed on many occasions, has been a total and enthusiastic success. It's totally subscribed, and there have been a number of events where community members have gone out and prepared their tiles. Just for a moment, I'd like to take some time to salute the creator of the idea, Linda von der Schmidt-Listella. Linda's an artist and an art activist. Linda, as many of you know, operates a gallery known as Earth Song Studio, located at 242 Amboy Avenue in Metuchen. You may recall she did the June bug statue that was used, the sculpture on Main Street. Linda came up with the idea of the mural project and has done an enormous amount of work to purchase the materials, prepare them for volunteers, and participate in the work with volunteers. It's been a tremendous success, and we look forward to continue it in other venues. The TV Technology and Advisory Committee will be meeting in a special meeting on March 25th, this coming next Monday, with a representative of Cablevision, next Monday, with a representative of Cablevision to discuss the renewal of its franchise agreement with the company. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Councilman, I think the correction is it's March 24th.
24th, I'm sorry.
Okay. And just to dovetail with your report, before I go to Councilman Camerano, I will say that the mural project was very exciting. I participated with my granddaughter and daughter. We had a great time. I know Mrs. Goldman participated also. Elvis was in the building, right? But we had a great time, and I can't wait till we see this mural going up onto that building in the springtime. So it's a lot of fun, and I think people should come out and support if there's any openings to get in touch with Mrs. Listella. It's a really good time.
I think she's already got her eyes on other ugly structures.
Well, I think this year is just the first phase. That
Right.
there's one wall this year, next year there's another wall, and each year will be a wall. So, but I think it's a real worthwhile project. Councilman Camerano.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Pool Commission met last week. Doesn't seem like it's that time of year, but it is time to register for the pool. And this year it can be done online. And Bill, do you know if we figured out are we ready to take the credit cards online? Has that?
We're working on that.
Okay,
They
I know
have
there's
the
an issue,
platform
but-
together with the credit card company and the new software
Okay.
people.
Hopefully in the very near future, you'll even be able to just pay for it
We're
online.
trying to get that up as soon as possible. There's
Yeah.
certain technical issues that have to be
Right.
integrated.
Yeah, no, I know they have a new membership system this year, card-wise, computer-wise. I think it'll help smooth everybody's card acquisition. You won't have to get new cards. Fortunately, they're able to integrate the existing cards into the system, and about 75% of the members have existing cards. So we're thankful we're able to avoid everyone having to get new cards. The system will allow them to track usage at the pool by the hour. It'll allow them to record the number of guests on any given day, as well as other variables that go into the maintenance of the pool and just the hours of operation. We are also planning some improvements. There'll be new flooring, hopefully, in the restrooms. It's a new product we're looking at. We haven't gotten a final say on that, but we're looking at it, as well as improvements of it's called Pebble Flex, which is located around the kiddie pool. That will hopefully be replaced by the summer. And we're working on another feature. We're not there yet because it requires a water source. So until we figure out the water source, I'll leave that one for the next meeting.
Peter, I have a question for you on the registration for the pool. I think in last week's crit there was an insert about the online thing and all.
Correct.
Will there be? Are you still going to do the paper?
I think the idea is to get away from that, and that's kind of what we're trying to work through right now. I mean, it's a lot easier for us with the new system to have the information put in at the source of the residence, because A, it's more accurate, we don't have to go back and re-enter it, and it's automatically transferred into the database with the new program. So that's our goal.
This might take a few. I mean, I think people are so accustomed to seeing that.
We understand that.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
we do understand. We're trying to address that. But, it's our hope that in the future, we'll be able to move away from the paper and just process it all online, just like most things are done now. The library board also met last week. Very happy to announce that the library has received a grant from the Lemelson Foundation of $50,000. The Lemelson family is a family from town. Their children grew up here. The father had a very successful career developing patents and made quite a bit of money, and the family has established this foundation to promote science and math. The Friends of the Library worked very hard on an application and put together a great program, and we've heard that the funding is coming now. We've been approved. You will see programming coming along with that, as well as some improvements with computers, other stations in the library that will be geared towards teaching kids math and science. There'll be a math club as part of it and other programs. So it's very exciting. It's a fairly large grant for us at the library, so everybody's really happy. Can't thank the Friends enough for the work they put into the application. They put together a pretty spectacular application. And I have to thank Dorothy Obrupta, who actually brought the foundation to our attention. She actually had taught the children when she was a physics teacher at the high school, and for some reason I kept in touch. Had she not brought it to our attention, we probably would not have known to apply. So it's a tremendous opportunity. I think it's going to be really exciting for kids and give them the opportunity to learn in a fun way. They continue with their programming. You can get that on Facebook, where they now are, as well as on the borough website, the different children's and adult programs, it's all there. The community room improvements are continuing. They are now out getting ready to do some painting and some other improvements. Anybody who's been in the community room knows it really is long overdue for somewhat of a makeover. So we're actually pretty excited about that. They're finishing up the final touches on the children's room, and you probably wouldn't even notice some of them, but there's a ceiling fan missing. A couple of ends to the bookshelves have finally been put in, and we're trying to figure out what to do with radiator covers. So we are getting there, and it still looks great. I know the director last week had a meet the director drop in. You could come in, meet the new director. She'll probably kill me for this, but I would say if you want to meet the new director and you couldn't be there, stop in. She's very accessible. She's there all the time, and she's really enjoying learning about the community and meeting the people in the community, because she views it as a way to find out what people want to hear about, what they want as far as programming, but also get a sense of something we all know, and I think Sharon alluded to it earlier. There's a tremendous amount of talent in this town in all areas, and I think she's met some very interesting people that she's hoping to help bring in the library. So if you do have an opportunity, you're there and she's there, stop in, say hello, introduce yourself. The other discussion that took place was incorporating the library into the arts gallery program so that it would be another venue to display artwork, and if just to enhance and give more space. I know we were talking about providing hangers for the walls, and they've been working with the arts folks to do that. So it's another opportunity for art to be displayed in another venue. And they'd like to be a little more involved and engaged in Junebug this year, and maybe one or two nights making it a venue, even outside if you could, where the field out next to it could be utilized as well. So it's actually pretty exciting. EMS does meet later this week, but they continue to staff calls during the evenings and events. Moving forward, they're going to be doing their fund drive. It'll be out in the mail shortly if it's not already, and they'll be looking for support there. No further report.
Thank you. Dennis, do you have any report?
No, Mayor, I have no report.
Bill, do you have any report?
Yes, I have a couple of items, Mayor. The Cliffwood High Street road project is going to be restarting soon. The milling should be starting within the next week or two. There's some finish-up concrete work, and hopefully, I'd say probably by the end of April, we should have that project done. We are waiting to get a price on removing the sludge from the Jersey Avenue pump station, and once we get that, and get that work done, then the valve work can be completed there. Councilman Grazel had wanted me to make a comment on Resolution 2014-61. Would you like for me to do that now, or
Yes, please.
wait? Okay, okay. This resolution provides for an additional option for all borough employees to defer part of their earnings, their salary, prior to taxes into a number of, quite a large number of investment opportunities, all the way from guaranteed types of instruments to international stocks, growth, there are asset allocation programs. In all, I think there are over 60 types of investment opportunities that the employees can participate in, and it's completely optional. There is no cost to the borough, and once it's set up through payroll, it becomes automatic, and the only thing that the borough would have to get involved with is remitting the amount of money that is deferred by the employees to the plan.
Anything else?
No, that's
Okay.
all.
I've got a,
Sorry, could I just ask
Sure.
one question? Bill, do we have any idea when DOT is going to be out to actually do the significant repair of Bridge Street? Have they given us any indication?
No, the engineer and I have to engage in that conversation. As you may be aware, we did apply to DOT through the Transportation Trust Fund for funds to repave the entire length of Bridge Street, which included the bridge. When DOT made their comments that they were going to look to do that, I don't know if they were thinking of doing that within the context of the grant or doing it separately. Unfortunately, we used to find out about the grant awards in October, usually right before the election. Now they've gotten slow. I'm hoping we hear soon, so I can deal with it in the capital budget and all, but that is one question we don't have answered yet. I mean, somehow it's going to get done. I'm hoping that they will do it, because then we can defer money towards other areas and get more bang for our buck.
I will say that I received a letter from our legislative delegation, our senator and assembly people endorsing our application to DOT last week. So we have our folks down in Trenton fighting to get that approved. But as Bill said, they're a lot slower now than they have been.
And I just have one question for Bill. I noticed in the parking lot that a large chunk of curbing, I guess due to plowing, may have come off and then got pushed to where the driveway is when you go out onto Middlesex Avenue. Maybe we can get someone to pick that up before maybe a car might get too close and, hit their tire on it. That's all.
We'll get that addressed through our DPW. Okay, I have a few items. First is the fire report. In February, the fire department responded to 28 alarms. They volunteered 513 hours at alarms or emergencies, 168 hours at drills and training, and cadets and advisors volunteered at 18 hours. I wanted to offer my congratulations to our girls' basketball team. They were the Central Jersey Group 1 champs. And also to Cassie Smith, who broke I think it's a 29 or 30-year record of Artie Flaherty, and now has the record for 2,062 points. We are going to be offering and asking the team and the coaches and Cassie to come in at our next meeting to receive some accolades from us, proclamations. On Saturday, I was able to go to the Fireman's Dinner, which honored our chief, Rob Donnan. And with a little surprise, we honored our councilman, Jim Wallace. It was a nice evening. Jim really deserved the accolades for his 52 years of service, not only as a fireman, but also as a retired police officer and serving here on the Borough Council into his second term. And the last item I have is that if you need to get things shredded, Saturday, April 12th, you could bring boxes, but do not bring books, magazines, newspapers, x-rays, floppy disks, or CDs. You are limited to 5 boxes or 100 pounds. It'll be at Edgar School from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. And it is until the truck is filled. So it's a first come, first serve. If you have items that you would like to have shredded, bring them over, excluding the items that I had mentioned. And that concludes my report.
Mayor, thank you for mentioning that, because it was further surprise. It got past me. Usually I pick up on those things, and until I walked in there and found out what was going on, I was shocked. And out of my 53 years with the fire department, that was the highlight of the 53 years right there. And I really appreciate it.
You don't know how hard it was to keep it from him. We went down to Deptford to see our girls play on Thursday night, and we're sitting there eating dinner with the Director of Special Services, Bob Capra, and he's talking about Saturday night dinner and, you know, going to the fireman's thing, and I'm biting my tongue to keep quiet because I know that this, you know, this is coming down. But it did work out real well, and it was well-deserved for you. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Council President?
I move new business consent agenda items A through G be approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move bill resolution in the amount of $406,511.25 be approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Mary, you're making the appointment?
Yes, we have some appointments, which I need council approval of. Councilman Grazel, you're going to be the liaison to the Disability Commission. Stacy Gill, Sarah Weisblum, Michael Gescheckley, David Kalman, Sherry Rose Rubin, a familiar name, Wesley Brooks, Joel Lumegat, Teresa Jaffe, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing names wrong, and Rena Coleman. The last 4 will be alternates. So I need a...
Mayor, just clarify, is the correct name for the commission the Accessibility Commission?
Yeah, I believe that's right.
Yes, I
rather than
believe so.
disability?
I don't think, is it commission?
I think it's committee.
I think it's
Committee, yeah.
Committee, it's Accessibility Committee.
Yeah.
All right, so it's Accessibility Committee.
Okay, so if you could move those, or second those for me.
I move that we accept the appointments to the Accessibility Committee.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Need a second.
You need
I'll
a second? Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you, Councilman. Okay, I'm going to open it for questions or comments from the public on any matter. Just step forth and state your name and address.
David Greenberg, 38 Clarendon. I have a quick question about the pool. Is there any way that ever any plans to get a play set for kids in the area? Because it seems like there's so much extra space there that would be something that would really benefit the kids.
It has been discussed several times, and it continues to be a discussion. When you get into the type of equipment you need around a pool, it tends to get a little bit more expensive, and because you have to have certain, because of the slippery, you know, kids come in, they're wet, you got to be careful. So it has been discussed. It's something the commission is looking at. They do recognize that it is an issue, and I think that's kind of what they're trying to address. And I think this year they may have a little bit more that helps in that arena. But yeah, we have looked at it. Unfortunately, the equipment's very expensive, and you know, we sometimes get a hard time from the insurance company too. But that's it's something we are continually looking at, and there's a big push by some of the members to do it. So I will convey that to them as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
I move.
Hearing none, I'm going to close that section. Go ahead.
I move for adjournment.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you for a very good meeting.